Boy, this shoe sure is a piece of what? Ginger Runner. What's up everybody, Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner here for another GingerRunner.com review. I am rocking the deep V-neck, which means I'm down for business. Today I'm reviewing a shoe that many of you have asked for, many of you have been looking forward to, many of you might be rocking now. It is the Newton BoCo AT. BoCo AT, the Newton trail shoe. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Newton shoes. They really help shape the runner I am today. The gravity and the distance are some of my favorite. The Energy NR, which I recently reviewed, is definitely one of my favorites from 2013. So when I heard that Newton was coming out with a new trail shoe replacing the Terra Momentus, I was stoked. More than half of my running schedule every single week involves trail, so I was very, very excited to see what Newton had up their sleeve. This is the result of all their research and design. The BoCo AT, which I'm guessing stands for Boulder Colorado All Terrain. I don't really know that because they don't explain it. The naming could use work. When I finally got the box delivered, I opened it up, I pulled this out, and I was actually fairly surprised. In both a good and bad way. And now that I put over 50 miles onto this shoe, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what the shoe is capable of, what it's not capable of, some of the good things, some of the bad things. And I'm here to tell you all about the Newton BoCo AT. Boulder Colorado All Terrain. I'm just gonna call it the BoCo. So let's start with things that I like about the BoCo. Durable. This shoe is extremely durable. Like I mentioned, I've run over 50 miles in the shoe and there's barely any signs of wear. It's very dirty. That's fine. It's to be expected with the trail shoe. The upper is made of some really solid materials. Though a little thick, it still manages to resist weather and resist wear and tear. And you know, it's a durable shoe. The forefoot, like all Newtons that you've come to know, the forefoot features these two panels of stretch material, so they allow your forefoot to expand and splay. It's extremely helpful in any shoe, but I've come to expect it in Newtons, and I'm really glad that they implemented that in this particular one. Rugged outsole. Look at this thing. The shoe features a ton of lugs on the outsole. There's two big areas of rubber here in the forefoot where there's lugs all over, and here in the heel as well where there are lugs as well. It's really great for that super rocky terrain, muddy terrain, wet terrain. The lugs do their job. They're wearing down a little bit premature, but overall I've been really happy with this rugged looking outsole. All weather. Having run in rain and some snow with this shoe, I will say that it is doing what it's supposed to do, which is keeping weather elements out. In addition to that, I will say that it's also keeping rocks, debris, and pebbles out as well. So the upper is actually doing two jobs. Midsole EVA. The EVA in the BoCo is very similar, if not the same, as the Energy NR, which I really appreciate. It's nice and soft. There's certain types of terrain that you can really feel that softness, and I enjoy that. Having loved the Energy NR so much, I was really looking forward to seeing if this had some of the same elements, and it does. Yay! 3mm drop. The BoCo is advertised as having a 3mm drop. I will go as far as to say that feels accurate. I find that when I'm running trails, I want a little bit more of a drop just so I can have some more cushioning on the downhills and the descents when you do end up heel striking. So 3mm in the shoe is good and it feels just right. Finally, I really like the medial and lateral lugs. Along either side of the middle and the outside of the shoe, there's these little thin lugs. They almost act like a 5th and 6th lug on the shoe, allowing you to have a little bit more stability, allowing you to corner better, helping you balance on those descents, and even getting you a little bit more grip on the ascents. I said ascents. So I think it's pretty cool that they added those because I think they help. Nice. Okay, so that's it for things that I like about the BoCo. Now let's get into the real dirty stuff, the things that I dislike. So the first dislike, and this is the biggest one, no Newton lug pop. Now, Ethan, what do you mean when you say no Newton lug pop? Well, I'm about to explain it. Newtons are designed with lugs underneath the forefoot. These lugs are built on a technology called action-reaction technology, where the lugs are incorporated into a rubber membrane and an air chamber above that membrane that allows the lugs to actually go into the membrane, giving you the sensation that the lugs are going into that air chamber, popping back out, transferring energy into forward momentum. What I've come to expect from Newtons and their lug technology is that sense of pop. Now with the Newton Energy NR, you don't get that pop that you get with other Newtons, but you do get the sense that the lugs are underneath your forefoot, 5 of them, giving you a good sense of stability, a good sense of where you should be striking underneath your forefoot, and keeping your form in check. This is the very first Newton shoe where I did not get any sensation of lugs at all. I'm gonna be totally honest. After putting 50 miles in this shoe, I can tell you that I just did not feel that the lugs were doing anything underneath. I wasn't getting the happiness running in the shoe that I was when I was running in other Newtons. So it really made me look at these lugs and to try to figure out why they aren't giving me the sensation that I want. I mean, it's obvious that Newton put lugs there because they're green, right? Well, here's a couple things that I noticed with these lugs and why they're different than other Newton shoes and why they didn't give me the sensation that I wanted. First of all, this entire piece of rubber is all one piece. In other Newtons, the lugs are separate from the outsole and attached to that membrane that moves in and out of that air chamber below the lugs. In this case, the lugs are attached to this outsole, so you have an extra layer of rubber to work with. It means it's too thick. But I needed to go deeper. I needed to actually get into the shoe and see what was going on in there, what the air chambers look like, what the lugs look like, to see if the technology was actually working or not working, and how Newton designed it. So I contacted my good friend Aaron Massey, aka Mr. Fix-It. We took a chop saw and chopped the shoe in half. You ever chopped the shoe in half?
I have never chopped the shoe in half with a chop saw, but I'm excited to do it. Let's do this thing. So,
how do you feel?
I feel like it smells like burnt rubber in here, but it worked. It chopped it in half.
Now, I will say that I was happy to do this, one, for the video, and two, because I just had a really poor relationship with the shoe, so I was happy to see it die a miserable death. But number two, let me tell you how guilty I feel, because this was the shoe I got engaged in. And I didn't realize that. I'm very sorry I chop sawed my engagement shoe in half, babe. All right, so here is the result of cutting a BoCo in half. As you can see, we have our 4 lugs here. They're the green, but black layer right above it, that is also all a part of the lugs. And right above the layer of black is a thin yellow layer of rubber. That is the membrane that allows the lugs to go in and out of the air chambers. But then they fill the air chambers in with EVA foam. So basically it goes insole, rubber, EVA, rubber, EVA, rubber, rubber, lugs. What? So after looking inside the shoe, I'm realizing exactly why there's no lug pop. Because there's nowhere for the lugs to move. The lugs are incorporated into 3, if not 4 layers of rubber, so there's just no movement in the lugs. That's why it doesn't feel like a Newton to me. Because it's not! So that's that. I feel bad for cutting this shoe in half, but I really had to get to the bottom of it. So, I dislike that there's no Newton lug pop. Cumbersome upper. While it is weatherproof, that is a detriment to its overall weight and feeling. The upper is extremely thick, the materials they use are heavier, there's tons of stitching, tons of layers, extra rubber elements that don't necessarily need to be there. I like my trail shoes light and nimble, flexible, and I think this upper contributes to a shoe that is not that. All weather? Now while I said that I did like the fact that they used all weather materials in the shoe, having all weather elements then incorporated with stretch materials that just soak up liquid, your foot is gonna get wet in snow. Your foot is gonna get wet in rain. You're not gonna get a perfectly all-weather trail shoe. So why try to make it all-weather when you can't go all the way all-weather? This goes back to my last dislike, where it just makes the shoe cumbersome. Too much outsole. As I showed you with the lug pop issue, I think there's just too many layers of rubber. I think it kind of deadens the shoe. I think it makes it a little too heavy, especially in the forefoot. It's very forefoot heavy. And especially up here around the toe box, it's just real thick rubber and it's just unnecessary. It all contributes to weight. This is over a 10-ounce shoe. I had issues with the forefoot on descents. Now yes, I love the stretch panels in the forefoot, but unfortunately what ends up happening is your forefoot can get a little loosey-goosey in there. And so in some descents, my forefoot never felt secure. Even if I would tighten down the laces on the front here, it just never happened. Nothing too terrible, but enough to make me uncomfortable. No ground feel. As a result of having the multiple layers of rubber, multiple layers of EVA foam, followed by more rubber, you lose a lot of ground feel, which I think is extremely important in trail running. I know a lot of people like to block out those rocks and think, hey, I'm not stepping on anything sharp, my feet feel great. But the truth is, you don't need to feel the sharpness, you just need to feel the ground. And I don't get a lot of that with this. And finally, condition specific. I will say, I know a lot of you love this shoe and are running on all sorts of winter trails and in winter conditions and love it. So I'm gonna chalk this up to being condition specific. Being in Southern California, you deal with kind of one temperature all year, anywhere from 60 to 120. So that's a lot more than one temperature. But it's mostly dry. In fact, we're in a drought right now where we've had 1 day of rain in the last like 5 or 6 months. It's crazy. So I will say that this shoe probably excels in conditions that have snow, have rain, have mud. On the smooth single track of Southern California, this shoe does not necessarily excel. So that's a problem. Maybe this is specific to Boulder, Colorado and nowhere else. I'm just saying they should make a SoCat hat. SoCat. So that is it for dislikes for the Newton BoCo. To be totally honest, I think the ideal trail shoe from Newton would be one of their 5 lug designs that they're incorporating now in 2014 models, and those lugs would have a bit of aggressive traction on the outsole. I think they should just stick with what they already have, but then make it just a little bit more aggressive for trails. This is not a little bit, this is a lot bit. You know I love Newton, so I'm so sad to have to say that about this shoe, but yeah, it's just not quite the shoe that I had hoped for. And I'm sorry that this had to happen. So let's get on with the points. Quality, I'll give the BoCo 3 out of 5. While I will say that the materials that Newton put together do last and are very durable, I don't think that the combination of all of them make for a great shoe. So I think the quality has to be a 3 out of 5. Comfort, I'm also gonna give it 3 out of 5. It is not the most comfortable trail shoe I've had, though I know many of you love it, so I have to mark it up for that. I just really want that lug pop. I want my Newton feel, and this does not give it to me. Price, I'm also gonna give it 3 out of 5. It's about $129. It's on the lower end of the Newton spectrum, but it's more expensive than a lot of the trail shoes that I love, that I think have the elements you need on the trails that are much cheaper. And finally, looks, 4 out of 5. I actually like the way it looks. I think it's cool. I like the bright green, I like the black, I like the red laces. While it looks like a Christmas shoe, I'm a big fan of bright colors and rugged dark elements. It sounds like a Match.com profile. I've always liked the looks of Newton, so I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. That brings our grand total to 13 out of 20 for the Newton BoCo. It's not a terrible score. Again, I know a lot of you guys love this shoe, so if you do and have run in it, please in the comments below, let me know why. Why do you love this shoe? What are the elements about it that you really love? Maybe there's something here that I missed, but I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to figure out why this shoe just wasn't working for me, so I had to cut it in half. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I could share that information with you guys. But I hope you enjoyed this review regardless. If you did, be sure to like and favorite this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/thegingerrunner. I'm doing new videos every single week. I'm even doing new live shows. Every Monday I will be live from the Ginger Runner studio or on location, and it will bring in guests. I will answer your questions on the fly. It's gonna be awesome. You can follow me on all the social networks, Twitter @thegingerrunner, Facebook, facebook.com/thegingerrunner, and of course, gingerrunner.com, the hub for everything ginger runner. That's it, guys. I hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying hardest. Be sure to use that hashtag #TrainRaceBeer. In the meantime, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep. Can't believe I did this. Bye!